Here is a short video on how to win at role reversal, which is probably my least favorite event in this game. I don't really like, I think the idea of it is kind of interesting, but actually playing it is very unfun. So the rules are whenever a player would draw a card, that player draws from the opponent's library instead. Whenever a player casts a card and exiles a card with full mana from their hand, that card costs 10 or less, they create a Goblin token. Costs more than 10, they create a Azorius Sphinx instead. So the idea is that you're supposed to kind of make the worst deck for your opponent and win with whatever deck your opponent gives you. So the way I approach this event is by basically trying to make your opponent self-destruct with cards that harm your opponent. So in my deck, best way to do that for me is by using Roiling Vortex. So when a card a player controls gains mana from a source that is not a match, deal 11 damage to that player. And while on the board, your opponent can't gain life. So that makes you think of all the cards that give mana to your opponent without making a swap. So those are things like Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, Eye of Vecna. I think that's all I have in here right now. Oh, Behold the Beyond. We'll get into that later. So Wizard class also does that too, and this will do this specifically for spells. So if there's 5 or more cards in your hand, each spell in your card in your hand gains 3 mana. So every time you gain that 3 mana, you'll do, or your opponent gains that 3 mana, they'll deal 11 damage to them. So all these cards have ways of giving mana to your creature or to your opponent, except for Read the Bones, which is just gives damage on its own. But one of the important cards in here as well is Ley Line of Singularity. When this support enters the board, exile all token creatures, and whenever a token creature enters the battlefield, exile that creature. So this will keep your opponent from getting a big stack of goblins and sphinxes while they're casting all these cards. So the point is you want them to cast cards, but you don't want them to get anything good from it. And so Behold the Beyond will help your opponent get all these things that will help them self-destruct. And there's nothing in here that if you cast the card will hurt you, while your opponent just kind of hurts themselves. So Eye of Vecna is a good one because every time you hit the mana field, they lose 6 life. And you draw a card that gains 6 mana, which will in turn make them lose an extra 11 life. So that pretty much gives you the rundown on how this deck works, and still tweaking it, but I think it's a good enough deck to show off how this goes. So let's play a match and see it in action, all right? And here we go. So I like to use Karn because you can put anything you want into his deck. Okay, great. We got a Roiling Vortex. One of the things that I like to do with Karn is fetch for the card I want. And so let's not cast anything in our deck. Just get the Roiling Vortex out as quick as you can, and the Ley Line of Singularity as quick as you can as well. Oh, we could use Desert of the Mindful to get things going here. Definitely not cast anything that will give you yourself mana. Just, if you want to, you can search for Ley Line of Singularity and hope that your opponent just starts casting stuff that will give them mana. Out of one mind. Let's see. They usually start by casting those 2 cards that you get from your own thing. So yeah, there we go. That's exactly how that's supposed to go. The game doesn't even know what to do. It's like confusing itself. So that's why you saw those 3 victories happen. But yeah, that is a best case scenario of how that will go. But pretty awesome. Let's for fun do one more match. Oh, cool. They're going to give me a Gnawbone to start with. All right. Thank you. I'll take that. Actually, we don't want Gnawbone out because his gems will actually, his treasures, when we get Roiling Vortex out, will actually harm us. So you gotta be really careful with this deck and not cast things that will help you gain mana. That's actually the last thing we want. So we don't need tokens. Nothing in here we really want. Read the bones just to get stuff out, but we really don't want to cast any of their cards. Lane Line of Singularity is a good one to have on the board. Gets rid of any of their tokens. So actually, if they get Roiling Vortex out, it will help us a lot. Because every treasure that's busted will make them lose 11 mana. Or 11 life. So let's find that. Get out of here. Wizard class. Okay, I'm fine with that. Don't think Roiling Vortex is on the board yet. God, it's taking me a while to find it here. If Roiling Vortex was on the board, she'd be dead by now. I don't want any of these, but let's see. Just go for loyalty matches so that you can get closer to finding your Vortex. There it is. It's on the board. There you go. I didn't even realize. But yeah, that one took a little longer than I like. But yeah, just could see what happens. Gnawbone would have actually been an awesome way to show it, but it took a long time for the Vortex to get on the ground or on the board. So yeah, Roiling Vortex cast by you to be good. And so, yep. Roiling Vortex being triggered 3 times, and that is a wrap. So cool. Hope you guys have those cards to be able to do this, and makes this event somewhat tolerable. So have fun. All right, see you guys.